How many likes can a liker like if a liker could like likes? Hello everyone, my name is Lauren Sergi, communication obsessee, maven of verbal matter, and welcome to Communication Q&A. Today's question comes from Sally, who does not like, especially when we pepper every sentence with it. Here's Sally. Hey there, Lauren. I just discovered you yesterday in an effort to help a loved one become aware of their vocal fry. How did that go for you, Sally? I loved your video on eliminating ums and ahs and will do some much needed work on that for myself. Do you have a video specifically dealing with the abuse of the word like? I think it is also a verbal filler and makes people sound unprofessional and 12 years old. Like, help! Sally. Sally, thanks for writing in. Let's unpack some of the baggage surrounding like. Technically, like, when it's used out of context, of course, is what's known as a filled pause. Filled pauses are words or non-word sounds that just come out of our mouth when we're trying to gather our thoughts or figure out what to say. Other normal filled pauses are things like so, you know, and so on. I think of them as ways of our brain forcing our mouths to stop making noise so that our brain can catch up and actually figure out what it wants to say. We will also use like to signal to the other person that we aren't finished speaking, but that we are trying to choose our words. So there is some use to it. But filled pauses and verbal fluff, such as like, is a source of hand-wringing among many people, not just yourself. But to be honest, I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to getting rid of them. They are a natural part of speech, and most people won't notice the occasional filler. That being said, if you're popping like into every other sentence or using it multiple times within a sentence, yes, it's going to make you sound juvenile. It gives the impression that you aren't able to gather your thoughts and express yourself in an orderly fashion. So, how do we get control over this irritating verbal habit? In the video that I made on really as a form of a filler word, I will link to that video down in the description, I recommended focusing on punctuation in order to fully finish your sentences, to give yourself a mental target, and that helps you avoid using really as a method of finishing a thought. We're going to take a different approach here. For like, along with and ah, I want you to start by focusing on recognizing when you're about to say it, and then working on interrupting that urge to say like and replacing it with a meaningful pause instead. I've got 3 tactics to help you do this. Tactic 1, speak more slowly. Filler words tend to happen when our thoughts are spinning or when our mouths are moving faster than our brain. Slowing down your speech helps a lot because it gives your brain the time that it needs to pick and choose its words and put them together more carefully. This is especially true in stressful conversations. Now, you don't need to slow down a lot, you just need to turn the speed dial down a little bit, let's say from an 8 to a 6. Here's a free home demonstration. Let's say that you're giving a report at like a manager's meeting or a team huddle, and because you're a bit nervous and you're not sure how to express your idea, you find yourself speaking pretty fast. And if you find yourself speaking really quickly like I am right now, and those likes are starting to come in faster and faster, then I want you to turn the speed dial down and focus on speaking at this pace instead. It isn't agonizingly slow, it isn't a boring pace, but it is a much more measured tempo that's going to give you the time to put together a decent sentence. And this is going to help filter out a lot of those likes. Don't underestimate the power of this tactic. I know it sounds very, very simple, but it is one of the best strategies out there for reducing likes and other filler words. Tactic number 2, create a new habit of pausing. Using filler words is a language or a verbal habit, and you can override that by replacing it with a pausing habit instead. First, just as with what we did before, you need to learn to recognize when you're about to start using filler noises by getting in tune with how you feel when you're about to use them, when they're likely to start coming into your speech. Generally, when we're about to start liking or umming and ahhing a lot, our thoughts will feel muddy. We'll struggle to put words together. It might even feel like your brain is pushing up against a wall, or that your tongue can't form the words, or that they're getting stuck in your throat. I find it's a combination of both those mental and physical sensations. I want you to pay attention to those moments in your speech, to that feeling of mental or physical struggle. As soon as you feel that muddiness or experience that struggle, close your mouth and take in a breath through your nose. This is your mindful pause. That takes the place of a like or an and it gives your brain the chance to put those words together. You just close your mouth and in and out. In order to let people know that I'm pausing to think and not that I'm pausing because I'm done talking, I will supplement this with a physical signal, such as a thoughtful look on my face or a hand motion to indicate that I'm not finished speaking. I kind of make a little bit of a performance about the fact that I'm thinking and that I want to continue to speak. Here's a demonstration. Sometimes figuring out how to put your thoughts into words is hard. It's as though our thoughts don't know what to do next, or that our tongue doesn't know how to shape itself around those ideas. Did you catch that? The expression of thinking on my face, the little paused or suspended hand motion, these are signals that I'm thinking of what I want to say next. And when you indicate that very visibly on the outside, people know what you're trying to do. They know that you're not done, and they will usually hold a little bit of space for you to finish that thought. Tactic number 3 is Lycus interruptus. This one is more of a brute force tactic, but it's still very useful. You are going to start interrupting those likes midstream with pauses. As soon as you start making the sound, you cut it off. Now, just as with tactic number 2, this involves self-awareness. When you're speaking and you notice that you're saying like a lot, pay attention to the physical sensation of the word. Notice how it starts in your throat or what your mouth is doing when you start to say it. Really feel the little l. Then, when you feel yourself start to make the noise, cut it off. Shut your mouth. Take a breath. Carry on. It sounds a little bit like this. Sometimes figuring out how to put your thoughts into words is hard. Look, it's as though our tongue doesn't know what to do next. It doesn't know how to shape itself around those ideas. Did you catch how I started to say the like, but I interrupted it a little? Doing this over and over is a great way to overcome those filler words and those filler noises. In fact, that was how I first learned how to do this when I was taking acting lessons. I used loads of filler noises, and I had to learn how to interrupt them when I was forming them so it wouldn't ruin the take. Over and over and over. Like I said, it's brute force, but it does work. All 3 of these tactics can and should be used together. Taking a multi-pronged approach to dealing with fillers is a really good idea because they are very stubborn verbal habits to kick. It's also going to take a lot of patience and a lot of practice, so I have some recommendations there as well. First up, work on these skills when you're having low-stakes conversations, such as a relaxed conversation with a friend or a coworker, or if you're sitting in a meeting where it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power in order for you to participate. This way, you can give over some of that brain power to paying attention to the way that you're speaking and observing your verbal habits. Second, enlist a friend or a trusted coworker to help you out. It can be hard to recognize our own likes or our own fillers when we're trying to speak because we're paying attention to what we're trying to say. So it's really helpful to have someone else signal to you, like a or a if you start doing a lot of fillers or a lot of likes. So ask them, figure out a signal between the two of you that in a meeting or in a conversation, they can just subtly indicate so that you know when you need to start using one of the tactics that we mentioned earlier. Third, practice frequently. Frequency is extremely important when you're developing a new habit, such as replacing fillers with mindful pauses. So Talk to yourself. Have conversations with yourself out loud so that you can observe your speech patterns and become familiar with them. Speak to yourself when you're in the shower. Chatter with yourself when you're doing chores or when you're out for a walk or when you're commuting to work. It might feel really silly, but this habit of talking to yourself out loud is part of what's going to give you a lot of opportunity to pay attention to when you're likely going to slip into those filler words and to work on the strategies needed for overcoming them. There you go, Sally, the full approach to getting rid of your unwanted likes for good. And to all my watchers, not all likes are unwanted, and I'd really like for you to hit that like button if you found this video helpful, and to subscribe to my channel while you're at it. It really does help me out. If you've enjoyed this video, please also sign up for my mailing list for even more resources and things that I only share with my email subscribers. You can do that by heading over to laurensergi.com and signing up in the pop-up. Thank you so much for joining me on this communication Q&A, and I'll see you again soon.